DC Metal has been a fan-favorite series of the DC Universe for a very long time now. And with the new Dark Knight's death metal trailer being released, we can't help but think, hey, they should really animate that series. Here's why DC Metal should become the next big animated DC franchise. DC Metal takes place in what we call the negative universe, where there are multiple Batmen who have turned into twisted evil versions of themselves on their Earths. There's one Batman who absorbed the Flash and became the Speedster Red Death. One that took the Doomsday virus and killed the entire League, and many more that we can barely cover in this video. But there's been a fan favorite Dark Knight that made it into the main DC universe. Yes, this twisted version of Batman is actually canon. This Batman was consumed by the Joker's toxin, leading him to killing everyone on his Earth. This Batman is without any of the codes our Batman stands by, except for one. Batman always wins. Yes, we're talking about the Batman who laughs. Now, in the final chapter of DC Metal, the Dark Knights were defeated by the Trinity with their newly forged magical armor. For all of you non-comic fans out there, the Trinity composes of Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman. You know, the strongest members of the League or whatever. They all went back to their Earths, yada yada yada, the heroes win! Well, not really. In the Batman Who Laughs comic series, it's shown that the Batman Who Laughs still has access to the main DC universe. After an entire series dedicated to him trying to get our Batman to become, well, him, he would later play a huge part as the main villain in the new DC Metal comic, Dark Knight's Death Metal, where our heroes were defeated and ruled by the Batman Who Laughs himself. I personally listened to a lot of metal, and let me say, this trailer was on the mark. Now, only one issue is out right now, and let me tell you, it's one hell of a read. I highly recommend you guys go read it. So why does this need to be the next thing DC should animate following up Apokolips War? DC Metal has been a fan favorite ever since the Dark Knights made an appearance. So not only will this be an easy cash grab for DC, but it will also show us, the fans, the Flash's attempt to reset the universe into something new and better than it was in Apokolips War fail. What a twist, am I right? It could show us that not only did the second flashpoint not help at all, but it created the negative universe. That's an idea right there, DC. As we all know, Apokolips War had to be built up for a good 6 years, starting with the movie, you guessed it, Flashpoint. So what DC can do is introduce each Batman in their own animated movie, starting with a Red Death. The Red Death will be the perfect Dark Knight to kick off this franchise. Cause, you know, he's an evil speedster, and following the Flashpoint, starting off with him kinda makes sense. They can even have the Batman Who Laughs narrate and show him at the end of that specific movie, sitting on his bone throne with his twisted sons, the Groblins. DC can introduce each Dark Knight one by one, and at the end of every movie have them being gathered from their dying worlds one by one, building up a larger and bigger expansion of their universe. The DC Metal animated series will not stop at the last issue of their comic, oh no it won't. They still have a Batman Who Laughs comic series, and the current ongoing story of Dark Knight's Death Metal. So, there's a lot of material to work with. It'll be a lot of work, but hey, after watching the DC Death Metal trailer, tell me DC ain't already on animating the thing. It's gonna take a good 3-4 years to close off the franchise though. A lot like what they did with what I like to call the Flashpoint saga. But it will have a massive payoff knowing the popularity of the DC Metal series. And who doesn't want to see an evil and much darker Batman? Well, Batmen. Oh, and did I mention the Joker and Batman team up in both DC Metal and in the Batman Who Laughs comic? Yeah, it's gonna be one hell of a ride if they actually decide to animate this comic. The build-up for the final confrontation would be so worth it. Because not only did we see each of the Dark Knight's origin stories being built up for this final hurrah from our heroes, but it will most likely be a huge success both in the box office and in the DCAU fandom. So DC, if you're watching this, that's how we think you can pull this massive thing off. And remember how the Flashpoint got more attraction to the DC universe, getting more and more people invested in the franchise? The DC Metal series can do the same thing. It could catch the attention of the next generation that is looking for a good read or animated movie DC has to offer them. Love the trailer, by the way. I listen to it on loop most of the time. So in summary, the second Flashpoint created the negative universe, evil Batmen known as the Dark Knights, and the Batman who laughs as the most badass yet evil Batman the DC universe has ever seen. If you haven't yet, I highly recommend all of you read the DC Metal series. It's a real treat for all of you. Also be sure to read the death metal comic that DC is currently making. And that concludes today's video. But what are your thoughts? Do you think DC is already on the idea of animating one of their biggest comic series they've ever made? Was it really Flash's fault the DC Metal universe exists? Or did we get too hyped over the awesome animated trailer? Let us know down in the comments below. Thanks for watching.